Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All gurus to Sri Gopal and Guru Maharaj. So we'll hear today about Parishit Maharaj, how he responded after Sukadeva Goswami completed the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, that will be the main focus for today. Rasal Krishna, whenever you're ready, you can start, Prabhuji.
Just give me 1 second to get set up, please.
Sure, Prabhuji. Yeah. So while Prabhuji is setting up, I'll mention a couple of things. So while Prabhuji is reading, we'll pay attention to a few themes. One is gratefulness, gratitude of Maharaj Parishit. Second is greatness of Sukadeva Goswami in narrating Srimad Bhagavatam. And third is the consciousness that Parishit Maharaj is so fixed at the time of death. Normally we hear consciousness of people dying and fearing, worrying, crying, all those things. But now here, how a great devotee consciousness is at the time of death, like that. The few things you can observe. That will be nice.
Okay, I'm ready, Prabhu.
Sure, start.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayan Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Naratam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Udret Nunavatam Sata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayanta Sriya Bhadrani Vidunnate Satam Nastya Prayasya Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Dear devotees, we're reading from Canto 12, Chapter 6, verses 1 through 20. Next one. Sutta Goswami said, after hearing all that was narrated to him by the self-realized and equiposed Sukadev, the son of Vyasadeva, Maharaj Parikshit humbly approached his lotus feet, bowing his head down upon the sage's feet. The king, who had lived his entire life under the protection of Lord Vishnu, folded his hands in supplication and spoke as follows. Text 2. Maharaj Parikshit said, I have now achieved the purpose of my life because a great and merciful soul like you has shown such kindness to me. You have personally spoken to me this narration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, who is without beginning or end. Text 3. I do not consider it all amazing that great souls such as yourself, whose mind are always absorbed in the infallible personality of Godhead, show mercy to the foolish conditional souls, tormented as we are by the problems of material life. 4. I have heard from you the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the perfect summary of all the Puranas and which perfectly describes the Supreme Lord, Uttama Sloka. Text 5. My Lord, I now have no fear of Dakshaka or any other living being, or even of repeated deaths, because I have absorbed myself in that purely spiritual absolute truth, which you have revealed and which destroys all fear. 6. O Brahmana, please give me permission to resign my speech and the functions of all my senses unto Lord Adoksha. Allow me to absorb my mind, purified of lusty desires within him, and to thus give up my life. 7. You have revealed to me that which is most auspicious, the supreme personal feature of the Lord. I am now fixed in knowledge and self-realization, and my ignorance has been eradicated. 8. Sutta Goswami said, thus requested the saintly son of Srila Vyasadeva give his permission to King Parikshit. Then, after being worshipped by the king and all the sages present, Sukadev departed from that place. 9 through 10. Maharaj Parikshit then sat down on the banks of the Ganges upon a seat made of darba grass with the tips of its stalks facing east, and turned himself toward the north. Having attained the perfection of yoga, he experienced full self-realization and was free of material attachment and doubt. The saintly king settled his mind within his spiritual self by pure intelligence and proceeded to meditate upon the supreme absolute truth. His life here ceased to move and he became as stationary as a tree. 11. O learned Brahmanas, the snake bird Dakshaksha, who had been sent by the angry son of Brahmana, was going toward the king to kill him when he saw Kashyapa Muni on the path. Dakshaka, flattered by Kashyapa by presenting him with valuable offerings and thereby stopped the sage, who was expert in counteracting poison from protecting Maharaj Parikshit. Then the snake bird, who could assume any form he wished, disguised himself as a Brahmana, approached the king and bit him. 13. While living beings all over the universe looked on, the body of the great self realized saint among kings was immediately burned to ashes by the fire of the snake's poison. 14. There arose a terrible cry of lamentation in all directions on the earth and in the heavens, and all the demigods, demons, human beings, and other creatures were astonished. 15. Kettle drums sounded in the regions of the demigods, and the celestial Gandharvas and Apsaras sang. The demigods showered flowers and spoke words of praise. 16. Hearing that his father had been fatally bitten by the snake bird, Maharaj Janamjaya became extremely angry and had Brahmanas perform a mighty sacrifice in which he offered all the snakes in the world into the sacrificial fire. 17. When Takshaka saw even the most powerful serpents being burned in the blazing fire of that snake sacrifice, he was overwhelmed with fear and approached Lord Indra for shelter. 18. When King Janamjaya did not see Takshaka entering his sacrificial fire, he said to the Brahmanas, why is not Takshaka, the lowest of all serpents, burning in this fire? 19. The Brahmanas replied, O best of kings, the snake Takshaka has not fallen into the fire because he is being protected by Indra, whom he has approached for shelter. Indra is holding him back from the fire. 20. The intelligent king Janamjaya, hearing these words, replied to the priests, then, my dear Brahmanas, why not make Takshaka fall into the fire along with his protector Indra? Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Russell Kishan. So it's an important section. This is at the end of the Srimad Bhagavatam in one sense. What Sukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parishad Maharaj. Of course, there are a few chapters after this, which is the conversation between Sukadeva Goswami and the sages of Naimisaranya. So, if you remember the last chapter, Sukadeva Goswami concluded his description of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he ended the chapter with one question to Parishad Maharaj. And what is the question? He said, I shared with you all the things that you asked me about. Now, would you like to hear anything more? Like that he asked. So that is how the chapter ended. Now, in this chapter, Parishad Maharaj answers that question also. But before answering the question, he first expresses his gratitude after hearing the whole Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami. So we'll see some wonderful things. BBD purpose indicate and Acharya's commentaries to indicate. The simple section in one sense. In text one, so Suta Goswami is saying this. That means last chapter ended with Sukadeva Goswami asking Parishad Maharaj, what else you want to hear? Now it went back to the outer conversation. How Srimad Bhagavatam originally starts in the first canto also with Suta Goswami says of Naimisaranya, right? So Suta Goswami is saying this. After hearing all that was narrated to him by the self-realized and equipoised Sukadeva Goswami. So equipoised word is Sama. BBT purport indicates Sukadeva Goswami spoke at the end of the last chapter, if you remember, one section of Gnana. And we talked about a couple of reasons why he spoke that Gnana, even though he told Bhakti is the topmost, everything is Bhakti. Two reasons we heard that time in the last chapter were that he wants to keep it as a secret by revealing something lesser important compared to Bhakti. He revealed Gnana to end so that the Bhakti is preserved like that. So that is one reason we heard. Second reason we heard was Sukadeva Goswami wanted to test Parishad Maharaj. Did he understand Bhakti is the topmost? He wanted to show it to everybody, basically. He understood it, but he wants to show it to everybody. That Sukadeva Goswami is situated in bhakti. Even though he told Gnana, Sukadeva Goswami didn't get attracted to, oh, I want to get liberated like that. He was still situated in bhakti towards Krishna like that. That was two reasons we heard. The third reason here, the purport is describing by giving the commentary from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that some other yogis, some other present along with Parishit Maharaj in the audience while Sukadeva Goswami was speaking Srimad Bhagavatam, they were attracted to impersonal liberation. It seems they were jnanis. They were attracted for jnana more than bhakti. So that's the other reason. Uh, Sukadeva Goswami being equally disposed, he pleased them also like that. So their faith will keep going like that. This is the beauty of Vedas. Sometimes we get questions thinking, devotees think, if bhakti is the topmost, why not only talk about bhakti, nothing else? Why confuse people? That's a common question we get. So that's clearly indicated here how Supreme Lord and his devotees want to give something to everyone at their level. So that from their level, they can grow to the bhakti like that. So if somebody is very at a consciousness level, they want only how can I be happy with body? That is their consciousness. And they cannot easily come to the bhakti level. So for them, Vedas prescribe karma kanda method so that they can be start at their level, still progress in the consciousness like that. So that way, Vedas are all inclusive to help everyone to grow in their devotion towards Krishna ultimately. So even though they may not start there, but of course, sometimes it's a difficult path unless you have proper guidance to get to the final place. So that's why we know Narada Muni also told Vyasdev to glorify Bhakti and Krishna in this literature, Srimad Bhagavatam like that. So that's the mercifulness of sages and Krishna was seeing through these things. So then he says, Parishit Maharaj came before the lotus feet of Sukadeva Goswami, his spiritual master, instructing spiritual master, and he paid obeisances to him at his feet. And he folded his hands and spoke, it seems. What did he speak in text 2? He said, I have now achieved the purpose of my life. So after hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Parishit Maharaj achieved the purpose of life, is saying. Why is recognizing why that is so. Not that I achieved purpose of life, now I'm great. That's not the motivation we're speaking. He's saying I achieved my purpose of life because of you. What is special about Sukadeva Goswami did? He said, because of great and merciful, both great and merciful. Soul like you has shown such kindness to me. What is that kindness he has shown to Parishit Maharaj? Sukadeva Goswami has shown. He spoke the narrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Acharya's commentary indicates that Parishit Maharaj saw Krishna in his womb. Remember when Uttara came to Lord Krishna to protect the baby in the womb. Krishna immediately protected him by entering the womb and with the Sudarshan Chakra like that. So that time, Parishit Maharaj had the darshan of Krishna. So Parishit Maharaj's only desire to fulfill from Sukadeva Goswami was to hear Krishna Katha. And that desire he fulfilled. That's why he's so grateful. So that is also showing that Parishit Maharaj was already a devotee. Not that only after hearing Bhagavatam became a devotee. No, that's not the point. Prabhupada stresses this point many times in first canto. So that's so he's saying he's feeling gratitude for the great soul and that he gave Krishna Katha to him like that. So that's how he achieved the purpose of life. So even we, as a lesson, we don't forget anything that anyone has done for us, whether it is materially somebody helped with us food, clothing, or living place, or job. That anyway we need to give gratitude for. But more grateful we should be for the spiritual relations we get, spiritual assistance we get. So that way we can continue to grow in bhakti. Gratitude is a seed of love, it is described. So now next verse, text 3. He glorifies the compassion of great souls, great devotees like Sukadeva Goswami. What is he saying? I do not consider it at all amazing that great souls such as yourself, whose minds are always absorbed in Lord Krishna. Achyuta Atmanam, he says. So So great devotees are ones whose mind is always absorbed in Krishna. They show mercy to foolish conditioned souls, tormented as we are by the problems of material life. So one of the characteristics of great devotees is their paradukha dukhi. They're considering how people do not pay attention to this knowledge, how people do not learn this process, people do not understand this process, people do not apply this process, and then they want to give something to them, because there are many people in these different categories. Some don't even want to hear. They are happy. I know I need to take care of my family. I need to take care of my job. My life is set. Don't even talk to me. Somewhere like that. So people, devotees, great devotees are compassionate toward them. And then some come to temple and say once in a while they come and they offer some dakshina and they take darshan and they go. They don't want to hear anything more. They think that my main purpose of life is this, but I come once in a while to pay respect to Krishna, so my life will go on smoothly. So they're compassionate towards them also, to encourage them to come to hearing, to encourage them to read scriptures, to encourage them to associate with devotees like that. Now, next level is people who come and hear, and they think, okay, oh, this is a nice thing to know. This is wonderful. This is interesting. This is good. They stop there. So people are devoted, great devotees are compassionate to them because they're not applying whatever they're learning. So there's another compassion. Next level is people who come, who hear the knowledge, who apply it for some time, and they think, oh, this is not for me. Oh, there's a better process out there that I will try it out. This is not working out for me. Like that, they go out. So great souls are compassionate for them so that they can understand this is the greatest value we are getting in bhakti. It's the simplest process for this age. Like that. So, like the different categories of people are there. Great souls are compassionate to all of them. So, now coming to text 4. He says, um, so Parshit Maharaj is saying, I heard from you this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the perfect summary of all the Puranas. Sometimes some people are interested in reading that Purana, this Purana, this Purana, that Purana, like that. So actually, Srimad Bhagavatam is the best Purana we can read and absorb and meditate and apply in our life like that. So that's what Parshit Maharaj is indicating. It's a summary of all the Puranas like that. Of course, there's nothing wrong to read other Puranas, but first we read Srimad Bhagavatam and understand it, assimilate it. Then, if you have a desire to read some pastimes of Krishna from other Puranas, some specific aspects of some philosophical concepts from other Puranas, that's absolutely okay. But with the mature understanding, because if you read something here, they will not resonate. With guidance, we can read and understand the scriptures when we're reading multiple scriptures at any time. So next, going to fifth verse. Oh yeah, he says Srimad Bhagavatam, the perfect Purana, which perfectly describes the Supreme Lord. So that's why he's happy that he's hearing Krishna Katha from Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why he's happy, Parishit Maharaj. Now, text 5 is like a summary of how he achieved perfection, is describing. He's saying, I have no fear of Takshaka, the snake bird, or any other living being also, or even of repeated births also. I'm not worried. I'll die, and I will take birth again. I will die again. He doesn't have any fear now. That is the perfection he achieved just by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from a pure devotee like Sukadeva Goswami. And why he's saying he doesn't have fear? Because I have absorbed myself in the purely spiritual absolute truth. So because he's absorbed in Krishna, that is why he doesn't have fear. So the secret of going beyond fear, lamentation, and illusion is not trying to work out this way, that way, that way, that way. Trying to develop attachment and absorption in Krishna. That will take away the fear, lamentation, illusion. There are other verses talking about this also. So, which you have revealed, that he revealed the supreme absolute truth is describing, and which destroys all fear. So Acharya Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, when Parishit Maharaj is saying, I don't fear Takshaka or any other living entity, he's telling, but I fear the liberation that you're talking about. That means in the end of the last chapter, the last things that Sukadeva Goswami spoke were about impersonal liberation focused for Gnanis. In that, guys, he spoke the higher knowledge for the Bhaktas. So he's saying, I actually fear that liberation because impersonal liberation devotees don't like because there's no aspect of service to Supreme Lord. That is the reason they don't like, devotees don't like impersonal liberation like that. So that's why he's saying that also is indicated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And then somebody may say, oh, Parishit Maharaj is actually saying that is absorbed in Brahman, not Bhagavan feature of the Lord. So Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur emphasize clearly that Parishit Maharaj is clearly indicating the firmness of bhakti is situated in, is talking about personal Bhagavan feature, which will summarize in another verse coming up in seventh verse also. Yeah, there is two verses from now. He says personal feature of Supreme Lord specifically. So they clarify for us like that. That now this actually pleases Sukadeva Goswami. Why? Remember, one of the reasons he gave Gnana at the end of the last chapter was to test Parishit Maharaj. So Parishit Maharaj is succeeded the test. He's telling that I'm absorbed in Krishna, supreme personal feature of the Lord, and I fear liberation. I don't fear anything else. Like that is describing. So that's what is described here. Sukadeva Goswami is happy to see Parishit Maharaj understood properly like that. Now going to sixth verse. Now this is the request, he says. Remember, this is a request in response to the question Sukadeva Goswami asked in the last chapter, last verse. What did he say? I told you everything you wanted to hear. Do you wish to hear anything else? Like that he asked. Now he's saying, I don't want to hear anything else. I'm satisfied. Please give me permission to resign my speech and all the functions of senses. That means I don't want to do that. I don't want to take care of that in the last minute. I don't want to take care of this in the last minute. I don't want to do anything else with the senses. And I don't want to even speak some nonsense also, not prajalpa also. So, but I want to resign myself to Adokshaja, Supreme Lord. Allow me to absorb my mind, purified of all lusty desires. Because by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, all his lusty desires got purified. Allow me to absorb my mind in Krishna and thus give up my life, he described. So that means without any further discussion, he's ready to go back to home, back to Godhead. That is the indication in this verse. Now, text 7, he says, actually, you revealed to me what is most auspicious. The supreme personal feature of the Lord is describing here. So, that is again indicating that he's not talking about Brahman, he's talking about Bhagavan feature of the Lord. And he says, I'm now fixed in knowledge and self-realization both, and my ignorance has been eradicated. Our Acharya's commentary indicates how is the ignorance of Parishit Maharaj eradicated? Because he heard Srimad Bhagavatam, which described about the sweetness, Madhurya of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and about the greatness, Aishwarya of Krishna also. Both the, remember, generally we hear about first 9 cantos are all about glorifying the greatness of Supreme Lord before the sweet pastimes are revealed in the 10th canto like that. So that's what is describing by Supreme Lord greatness and sweetness he heard from Sukadeva Goswami through Srimad Bhagavatam. That's what enabled him to eradicate all his ignorance and situate in transcendental knowledge, situated firmly in bhakti to Supreme Lord Krishna like that. So now text 8. Now Sukadeva Goswami is describing. Now the conversation went to outer loop, inner loop again. Sukadeva Goswami. No, Sutta Goswami is still describing. What did Sukadeva Goswami do? He's saying Sukadeva Goswami gave permission to Parishit Maharaj. That means no more Krishna Katha anymore. He wants to just absorb himself like that. Then everybody worshipped Sukadeva Goswami. That means they greeted him and thanked him and offered worship to him, respect to him, and all the sages also along with Parishit Maharaj. Then Sukadeva Goswami departed from the place. So it's interesting. In few minutes, In a short time, Parikshit Maharaj will leave his body. He came to give transcendental knowledge for 7 days. But Sukadeva Goswami did not wait for him to leave the body, wait to see how does he leave the body. Let me make sure he leaves the body nicely. No, that is our Acharya is indicating that is a detachment that Sukadeva Goswami himself had like that. He gave whatever is needed for Parikshit Maharaj. He is confident that he will take care of himself. He's not attached. Oh, now what will happen? Will he apply whatever I tell nicely like that? No, he's detached like that. So that's the other great quality of a devotee. Renunciation is a good quality of devotee. Doesn't mean that they don't care. That doesn't mean that they're not too much attached. It means that they're not too much attached. That's the point being made here. So when you care for people, you can give the space also for them to apply, for them to grow in life also, or grow in spiritual life also. That's important also. And giving guidance also periodically is also important. So now, next verse describes Maharaj Parikshit then prepared to leave his body. He sat down at the bank of the Ganges, and he basically went inside, observing Krishna, meditating on Krishna like that. Then that time, snake bird Takshaka came, who had been sent by a Brahmana who cursed, right? Shringi. Then he was going towards the king, it seems, to kill King Parikshit. But then he saw Kashyap Muni on the way. So why is Kashyap important? He is describing here. Actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti writes in the commentary, moral elaboration. Oh, it's in the purport also, BBD purport also. Kashyap has this great skill. If somebody, some snake bites someone, he can cure them, it seems. That means he can bring them to life again like that. So that Kashyap has that great skill, it seems. So he was getting some herbs ready for that purpose, it seems. So Takshaka Muni understood that. So what did he do? He diverted Kashyap by flattering him, by glorifying him, by distracting him somehow. Takshak Muni is described. Of course, how did he get flattered? That's again because of Krishna's will only. Krishna's will was Parishit Maharaj needs to go like this, go back to Godhead like this. So he got distracted, is described. Then, then the Takshaka could change his form in any way, it seems. So he came in the form of a Brahmana, and then he approached King Parishit and beat him, it seems. So if you notice, purport says that actually Kashyap Muni demonstrated that he could do this. How did he demonstrate that? One time Takshaka bit a palm tree by biting it, it seems. That time the palm tree went into flames, it seems, because of this. But a small, I don't know what is it called, small plant-like thing that is there, the bottom, after everything is burnt off, Kashyap Muni still revived that, it seems. That's the way he demonstrated his skill. But now Takshaka diverted him. So now, so Parikshit Maharaj is gone. So notice, sometimes some people who watched Mahabharat serial by in the TV like that, or who's seen something in the movies, they ask questions. It seems that Parikshit Maharaj, they ask questions. I heard in my Guru Maharaj classes. Like Parikshit Maharaj apparently is shown. I did not see that particular incident. I saw Mahabharat generally in TV, but not this particular incident, where apparently they demonstrate that Parikshit Maharaj was trying to avoid snake from coming and killing him, it seems, by different means. One of the means is he went to the higher platform where he seated himself with glass or something like that, so that snakes don't come, birds don't come like that. Like that is described. So now we are hearing that directly from Srimad Bhagavatam, the authentic version. What exactly happened? Parikshit Maharaj did not fear snake Takshak. Parikshit Maharaj was not resisting snake to bite him. Parikshit was fully absorbed in Krishna. In that mood, he left the body like that. That's what we are hearing, the right version from here. Now going to the 13th verse. Um, so as soon as the snake bird bit him, Parikshit Maharaj's body was immediately burnt to ashes by the fire of snake's poison, it seems. So interestingly, there's a different kinds of snake bite looks like. Regular snake bite, we only see somebody gets bitten and poison comes, that's our body still remaining like that, right? This is a very powerful snake poison looks like. Because poison also gives out flames, fumes like that, we know. There's burning capacity like that. Then everybody was lamenting is described in the next verse. And the following verse, along with lamentation, People were also happy, demigods especially. Why? Because they understood he's actually going back to Godhead. So even though he's bitten by snake like that. So similarly, when our acharyas leave the body also, we're simultaneously lamenting because we don't have their association anymore. And we're also happy that they went back to the eternal life of service to Supreme Lord like that. So that's what is indicating here. Next, text 16. When his father, Parishad Maharaj, left the body like this by being bitten by snake, his son Janmejaya was very angry, it seems. He became extremely angry and he asked Brahmanas to perform a sacrifice so all the snakes in the world can fall into the fire and die like that. That time all the snakes are coming one by one. But then Takshaka understood this happening. So he went to Indra and took his shelter, it seems. So Indra gave him protection. So then this Janmejaya understood that from the Brahmanas that Indra gave protection to Takshaka. That's why he's not getting killed. But his main purpose of doing the yajna is for that only. So Takshaka to kill, and of course other snakes also he wants to burn away. So then after understanding that, what did he say? Janmejaya is so angry. He said, not only Takshaka, let the Indra who is giving shelter also come into the fire like that. He asked. So then Brahmanas are so powerful, they could do that. They started chanting mantras where Takshaka, Indra, and all the demigods come and fall into the fire like that. So that is what is going on. So tomorrow we'll hear what happens and how that is prevented by Brihaspati like that. We'll hear tomorrow. So I see some question. Why the name Adokshita is said here among many other names of Krishna, many names of Krishna. Yeah, I not heard any commentary or anything in the Murjan Prabhu study guide also about Adokshita word. But we know the verse you are referring to is text 6. It says, please give me permission to resign my speech and the function of all my senses unto Lord Adakshita. So only thing we can see from here, we know the meaning of Adakshita word. Adakshita means one who is beyond the senses like that. So here is saying, let me give up. So that means these senses are not useful to reach Adakshita. That's the meaning I'm getting. Because he's saying I'm withdrawing my senses unto Lord Adakshita, it says. So that means I don't need the senses to reproach Lord Adakshita, but I'll observe myself in Krishna. That is the meaning I'm getting, but I not heard any commentary, read any commentary on that topic, which makes sense. Actually, there's another discussion that happens. I don't know which section that happens. Parishad Maharaj asked the question. Actually, my ears of material, I'm hearing Krishna Katha through material ears. Your mouth is material in one sense. You're speaking from a material organ, sense organ. But then, how did it got situated in this transcendental place like that? You ask one question. So that is a actually glorification of Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha is transcendental. There's no barriers, material barriers for Krishna Katha to transmit. Only beautiful thing is the speaker should be in the line of dissatisfaction and he should be have the purity, and then the audience should have eagerness to hear Krishna Katha. Then the Krishna Katha can transmit between them like that. So that's what I can share, Matai. I've not heard anything more on that. Yeah, we can pause here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's offer obeisance to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kupasindubhyevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Thank you so much, devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mr.
Hari
Prabhuji.
Om, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.